comments from last week's episode about what my chugging allowance is per day. So I've limited myself to 1 drink per day, and Lamro22 saying how much is that, and it's a pint. He was like, is it a pint, is it an imperial pint? And I was like, imperial pint? Hold on, there's only 1 pint, 568 millilitres, the Queen's pint, you know, standard. Turns out it's an imperial pint. To quote from Wikipedia, the pint, abbreviated as pint or p, the pint is a unit of volume or capacity that was once used across much of Europe, with values varying between countries from less than half a litre to over 1 litre. Over 1 litre. That'll be those Germans. Oh, excuse me. Within continental Europe, the pint was replaced with the metric system. Those fools. During the 19th century, however, in the United States, the United Kingdom, and various other Commonwealth countries, the unit has continued to be in use. There is also limited use of the term in parts of France, Quebec, une pint, or une pint, and Central Europe, notably some areas in Germany and Switzerland. The imperial pint, 568 millilitres, is used in the United Kingdom and Ireland, and to some extent in other Commonwealth countries. So that's what I'm referring to when I talk about a pint. There are 2 customary pints used in the United States. 2? Customary? Eh? A liquid pint, 473 mils. That's not very much, is it? And a less common dry pint, 551 mils. This difference dates back to the British Weights and Measures Act of 1824. Good old British Weights and Measures Act, which standardised the various pints in use at the time to a single imperial pint throughout the British Empire. The US pints were unaffected by this, obviously, being 1824, and can be traced back to pre-1824 English pints. Oh really? Each of these pints are defined as 1/8 of the respective gallons. But because of differing gallon definitions, the imperial pint is approximately 20% larger than the US liquid pint. However, whereas the imperial pint is divided into 20 imperial fluid ounces, 20 imperial fluid ounces, so I was right about the number of ounces, there are 16 US fluid ounces to the US liquid pint, making the imperial fluid ounce slightly smaller than the US fluid ounce. I wish I hadn't started reading this. It's kind of interesting though. I'm such a geek. Various Commonwealth countries such as Canada, Australia and New Zealand, all great places, converted to the metric system in the 1960s and 70s. Give me strength. So while the term pint may still be in common use in these countries, it may not be the same as the imperial pint originally used throughout the Commonwealth. In the United Kingdom, the imperial system is still in use for certain purposes. That's true, not for others. And even though metric units are defined as the primary units in some specific circumstances, the pint is still defined as the primary unit for beer, cider and milk. Yes, you can't take our pint away from us. A pint of beer served in a tavern outside the United Kingdom, outside of the United Kingdom and the United States may be an imperial pint, a US pint or something different depending on local laws and customs. Well, there you go. That told you. Basically it's an effing mess, and to be honest I do respect the old metric system because it's so logical. You know, how many ounces are there in a stone? 14. How many ounces in a stone, sorry. How many pounds are there in a stone? 14. How many ounces are there in a pound? 16, I think. How many inches are there in a foot? 12. It's idiosyncratic. but it's what the British Empire was built on. Cheers to that. Well, I say that. I'm not a massive imperialist, so I'm quite happy that lots of countries govern themselves and have their independence now, so I'm really just talking out my arse. So when Americans talk about a quart, what are they on about? Or an eighth? What are they on about? So they're talking about an eighth of US liquid gallon, which is a liquid pint. A US liquid pint. So an eighth is a bit less than a pint, a proper pint. A half is a US liquid quart, which would be getting on for 2 pints. Proper pints. Dry pints. Any of you Americans out there heard of dry pints? That's fascinating, that is. Is it like those things like wet weight and dry weight? So something weighs less when it's dry than when it's wet. But how does that work with drink? Because it's pretty much all wet, isn't it?